Good morning, campers. Welcome to the next episode of Feminine Talks. Today I'm really excited because we're going to be talking about karma, karmic relationships, karmic patterns, karmic contracts, karmic people in our life. And the reason I'm so excited is that this topic applies to all people, literally everyone. You don't have to be a divine feminine on a twin flame journey for this topic to be important for you to understand. You don't really need to be a spiritual person to really need to dive into this topic and understand this topic better. So we're going to talk about this today. We're going to cover what is a karmic connection, what are the characteristics, why do we have karmic connections, how to close karmic contract, how to close those patterns, and some little things that I feel it's important for you to know. Very important topic for divine feminines, yes. Extremely important topic for divine masculines, on a twin flame journey, because I always say this to you guys: the journey of the masculine is a journey through matrix. The journey of the masculine is a journey through karmic people, karmic contracts, karmic patterns. He needs to break them and understand them. So if you are a divine masculine on a journey, this video is specifically for you. But like I said, anyone, literally anyone in life. So let's start. What is a karmic relationship? And it's a very important thing to start from, because I feel there is a lot of misconception, right? People tend to think that karmic relationship is something evil, that your karmic partner is someone who's going to be abusive, who's going to be mean, who's going to be physically, mentally abusive, who's going to put you through a lot of pain, is just going to be a disastrous, toxic relationship. And while it can be the case, it's not always the case. Karmic relationship is simply a relationship between you and another soul who is not your soul tie. So translating this to our human world, your soulmates are your friends, right? Your higher soulmates are going to be your best friends. Your lower soulmates are going to be your friends and, your colleagues. Your twin soul is going to be your best buddy, the one that you love to spend all your time with, do all your activities with, your ride or die best buddy, right? And your karmics can be people that you work with, can be people that are your neighbors, can be people that you have some sort of a business with, but you don't really have a personal relationship with, right? It's not someone that you would choose to go on a weekend or on a trip or go and have dinner with, right? It's those kind of relationships that they serve a purpose. And that's exactly what it is. A relationship with a soul that you don't have a special bond, but it serves a purpose, right? So those can be relationships that can be very good. Some people spend their lifetimes in a relationship, in marriage, in romantical relationship with a karmic partner. Those relationships can be friendships. Those relationships can be relationships in our family. Most people that we have in our family are actually our karmic relationships, right? And those relationships can be nice, can be good, can be lasting, and sometimes they're going to be abruptive. They're going to be very intense, and they're going to be very painful. So why do we have that karmic relationship, right? So it's basically a karmic contract. Karmic contract is a little bit different, so let me just touch on that briefly. We can have a karmic contract with our soulmate or our twin soul as well. Karmic contract is literally us and another soul, before incarnating in this lifetime, sitting down and saying, okay, you will have to do this to me. Okay, regardless, is it good or bad, you will have to do this to me. Okay, so you can have a karmic contract with your best friend that the day before your wedding, she's going to come to you and say, don't do it. Okay, you can have a karmic contract with your twin soul that they're going to cause certain pains to you in order for you to grow. So you probably have a contract with your masculine that he's going to ghost you and that he's going to abandon you and he's going to disappear because he has to do it. It's part of your contract, right? But that contract is usually signed with someone who is your karmic relationship, right? So that soul that you agree to meet for a specific reason. Now, what is that reason? I usually divide this into two. One is a lesson, right? So they come into our life to teach us something. So this is where, the most great example would be your ex-karmic partner who has been in a relationship with you. Again, let's leave aside, is it a good relationship or bad or abusive? But when you exited that relationship, you learned something. Where is that something about yourself, something about love, something about life, but you learned something. You changed as a person, you grew. Side note, not everyone will do that. Some people are very resistant, and we'll talk about this in a moment. But that first reason we signed a contract with someone is to learn, right? So let's say you're someone who struggles with codependency, lifetime through lifetime through lifetime. You sign a contract with another soul. You're going to come into my life and you're going to hit me hard so I can finally realize that I cannot be codependent on anyone, that I have to grow in my strength. I have to build self-love, resilience, independence, right? Just an example. Another reason, the second reason why we sign karmic contract with someone is course correct, right? So in that encounter, not necessarily there's a lesson, but they come into your life to direct you towards something or someone. So I'm going to give you two examples. One can be, for example, someone who becomes your mentor, or someone who is your school teacher, right? And it's not your soulmate, but it's a karmic soul. But the karmic soul agreed that in school, I'm going to be your teacher. We're going to have a good relationship. At one point, I'm going to tell you something that will really plant a seed of who you want to be in life, right? Or that person that you have a reading with, you can have a karmic contract with me, right? That one day you will sign up for a session, and during that session, I will tell you something that Spirit has been trying to tell you for a long time that you need to hear, and it will course correct you, right? So it can be that mentor, that person that will inspire you, that will help you, right? And another example is, hold on. Sorry, I had to sip on my tea because I've been talking a lot today and I'm losing my voice. Another example is, it can be that romantical ex, right? Maybe you had that experience that always returns at an inconvenient moment, right? So you can have that person that you fell in love with, that one that got away, right? And it's often confused with twin flames, that comes into your life periodically, and sometimes without you knowing. It's to course correct you, right? So it can be a situation that you are, let's say, in a marriage with another karmic connection that is abusive, that is very difficult, and that partner appears to heat up your romantical feelings, for you to fall in love with them and give you courage to leave that relationship. They might not be your soulmate, that might not be there for you to stay, but they're that push to give you courage and strength to change something. Or it may be a partner that, let's say, you are dating someone and you're about to move to like a deeper level of relationship, or like a higher commitment, right? Commit to this person, or like say yes to a marriage proposal, or say yes to leaving the country with them. And that person returns. They return and they meddle in your mind, right? So you get confused and you don't eventually do what you were meant to do. But this is their purpose. It doesn't mean that they're your twin flame. It doesn't mean that they're your soulmate. They're just a karmic who agreed that something will push him to come in exactly at the right moment when you need that recalibration, right? So again, karmic contracts exist for us to learn lessons or course correct our life. So now let's talk about how this karmic relationship can look like. what are the characteristics of this relationship, because they're very different. So you would know this at this point, right? Because I've mentioned that it can be your teachers, your mentors, your boyfriends, your girlfriends, your partners, your parents. So let's talk a little bit about certain things that are confusing. So sorry, you'll have to bear with me today. Oftentimes, what causes confusion is that people think that if you are in a karmic relationship with someone, there's no love, or the love is not real, right? So people oftentimes, they exit the relationship. Let's say you already know, okay, this was a karmic connection, right? And then you start to think, okay, so it wasn't real love. No, love is love. Love is a beautiful emotion that can be developed between any souls, right? Love is love, especially when we're someone who is healed and who embodies that vibration of love, right? Love is love, and love is pure. And the type of relationship you have with someone doesn't take away from the fact that when you love them, right? And this is where oftentimes people confuse soulmate with karmic connection. And remember what I said to you in the beginning. Sometimes we spend our entire life with our karmic connection. And a reason for that, I usually, again, give two reasons. One is that this person came to our life to teach us something, but we didn't have the strength and the courage, because in the end, this is a school of life. We have free will, right? Not 100% of people reaches their highest, most abundant timeline. A lot of people doesn't go towards the direction that your soul, your higher self planned before coming into this body, right? So it may be that your soul wanted to be with this person, and then for you to get the courage and leave, but you've never managed to do this. So you settle. Those are those relationships that we're good together, we love each other, oh my God, let's get stuck in the society, spin and tell each other that we've committed and we're married. So since we've committed and we're married and we have children and we're friends, so let's just stay together, right? But it's not a real connection. But that's okay. Like I said, not all karmics are evil, abusive. It can be two good people, two good souls, right? Just coexisting together. And sometimes the other reason why people actually stay in that karmic connection their whole life is because they actually decided to, right? So they knew that there's going to be a lesson in life that they will have to learn all their lifetime, or perhaps they had a karma to pay with this person. So they're like, okay, I will come here with you, and in this lifetime I will be your wife, I will be your husband, we will do this together. We're not soulmates, but I will do this with you, right? So you either fail to learn a lesson, or you actually chosen to be with this person your whole life. It's a complicated topic, so I don't want to go into details how to know if someone is your karmic or a soulmate. For some people, it's not going to be relevant. It's not going to matter. The fact that you're asking yourself that question is your answer in itself. But what I usually say is that the growth with a soulmate and the growth with a karmic is different, because with a soulmate, we always grow together. If you decide to awaken, if you decide to expand, if you decide to change, if someone is your true soulmate, be it a relationship or a friend, they will always somehow follow. They will cheer for you. They will participate in your growth. They will grow through your growth, right? Even if there's a difference between you. Whereas karmics, they have a completely different path. So they might be reluctant to, if you, let's say, are awakening, or you're changing your belief system, or you starting to course correct your life, they will want to stay behind. They will not be completely on board, because you're not that similar mind, that similar frequency, right? And with a soulmate, there's sometimes a level of familiarity, but again, it's very difficult because some people are so detached from their true selves, and they're so in fear of losing someone and in codependence, that they're going to say that, oh yes, this is my soulmate, we're so familiar, we're like best buddies, because they refusing to accept that no, you're not. And perhaps everyone externally sees that, do you know what I mean? But sometimes we tell certain lies to ourselves, and that's okay. It may be part of our journey, right? So it can look like a very good relationship to an outside observer. You can be with a karmic, and you perhaps you can have a karmic contract with someone to have a child together, right? And maybe that child even is going to be sick, or is going to be have some sort of a disability, and this is your karma towards that soul or towards each other. This is your lesson, and you're going to be together always, and that's not necessarily your soulmate. Living a life with a soulmate and living a life with a karmic are two different experiences. So depending on what you want to experience as a soul, you can choose one of these two for yourself. And another thing, so we talked about love, right? That love is real. A love can be intense. It doesn't take away from the intensity and the strength of the love and the realness of the love if it's a karmic relationship. So now let's touch on passion, because this is where people with the love, they often confuse soulmate with a karmic. Now with passion, they often confuse twin flame with a karmic, because when I tell you, for example, right, oh my God, in a twin flame connection, the passion is uncanny. It's like your whole body gets ignited and you cannot stand away from this person, right? It is my personal experience. I cannot actually, these are words, right? I cannot actually translate to you. We don't have that ability as humans just yet, like Star Trek kind of ability. But I cannot transmute my actual emotions. So for a split second, you can feel how I feel with my twin, right? So you, for example, can respond to me, oh yes, I had that experience. The passion was uncanny. But you've actually been in a karmic relationship, because we cannot compare this passion. We're just, these are just words. To me, when I say my whole body gets ignited with my twin, it means that he awakens my kundalini. Literally, the serpent gets like poof, right? It's tantric. But someone who doesn't understand deeply these concepts, they can translate them, especially if they're wounded, into a karmic connection. And a lot of karmic connections, there is actually love and passion. And this is why it's so confusing. And you could ask me why there's so much passion. Well, here's the answer. Do you like to go through challenges in life? Do you like to go through difficult lessons? Do you like to sometimes get slapped in the face to learn your lesson? No. If we knew we all, for whatever reason, want to be aligned with a soulmate, with our true love, with a twin flame, we don't want to get into relationships with our karmics. So if I told you this person is your karmic, you wouldn't go for it, right? So something has to push you towards that, especially is in those karmic relationships that are very harsh lessons, that are very intense lessons, that are lessons that we wouldn't want to go for, right? Oftentimes toxic. There's gotta be passion. There's gotta be passion. You have to be attracted to this person. You have to be pulled. So source puts this emotion in you to push you towards that person. You know what I always say? Act on your passion is your compass. You should go where your passion leads you. But sometimes we have to go towards lessons. We have to go towards growth opportunities. We have to go towards challenges. So we feel ignited by those situations, by those people, right? So karmic relationship, and whenever I talk about twin flames in my topics for divine feminines, I've mentioned many times that this is why that one of the first stages of twin flame connection, that is that in and out, when we get activated to the journey and the kundalini rises and the passion and the recognition of the souls happens, that is pure craziness, because we are guided by our shadows. So what we're reflecting to each other is our shadows. It's a whole different topic, right? But to an outside observer, it can be confused with toxic karmic relationship. That is that in and out, but that in and out in a karmic relationship isn't a consequence of the fact that we cannot stand being with each other because we're so wounded that our frequency just repels us because it's too much. But it's because the karmic doesn't have that soul recognition with you, right? So they just won't care. They will be there when they want to. They will be gone when you're in inconvenience, and they won't care. And this is your lesson. This is your learning that wounded feminines often confuse with that twin flame, right? Because they read something or they see an information that is very superficial or surface level or not complete and through. Remember what I always say to you, everything in life is neutral, right? So my message right now, what I'm saying to you, there can be two completely different people that will understand that very differently. You would be surprised how often I do a collective reading and someone messages me or comments something that is completely not what I said. Completely not what I said, right? So that self-awareness, that's why we say that self-awareness, that sometimes brutalness with ourselves is key to the journey of healing, right? So again, that karmic relationship, there can be love, there can be passion, often confused with actual soul bonds like soulmate and twin soul. And that's basically how it looked like, because the passion is real. Because the love is real. It's not fake. It's there, right? It's just that it's a different setting. Now, let's move to the most important topic. How do we break that, right? Do we have to break that? Yes. Yes. Even if you decided to be with that person, with a specific person, right? Remember what I mentioned, sometimes we choose to spend our life with that karmic connection. There's always your highest, most abundant timeline. We all carry a potential within to rise above, to learn those lessons, to ascend, to awaken, to get aligned, to reach that highest, most abundant timeline. But again, those cases that we choose to really, maybe they're not going to be so often. In most cases, we choose to have a karmic person in our life or karmic contract is to break it, because it is that lesson, right? So what do you need to know about breaking and closing? It's not so much breaking, it's closing that contract. Perhaps you've heard me say that karmic contract exists on two levels. Level of a person and level of lesson, right? So we're going to start from talking about level of a person. When we talk about level of a person, it means that we have karma with a specific person, right? Because in a past lifetime, we have hurt them, we have failed them, we have disappointed them, right? We have caused them harm. And in next lifetime, we say, okay, I owe you, right? I'm so sorry for what I've done. I owe you. So now I'm going to be that karmic element on your life to pay this to you, right? So again, let's give you an example. Examples are great to understand. Let's say you've been in a couple of years of relationship with someone that you always felt like mentally you outgrown this person, right? That you always had like wider vision of love, wider vision of life, and this person was always, let's say you're someone who is very positive, who's someone forward movement, who's someone very lighthearted, right? And here you are with this person who's constantly pessimistic, who's refusing to grow, who's refusing to learn, right? And you look back and, oh my God, why I was with this person for so long, right? Yeah, I learned something. We always learn something, but why? Maybe you had karma to pay. Maybe one of the previous lifetimes, you have actually hurt this person because you failed at your lesson, or unknowingly you've hurt this person, and now you're like, you know what? I know I hurt you. I have karma with you to pay. So I'm going to come here with you, and we're going to be like married for 5 years or 10 years. And I'm going to give you a little bit of that motivation, that positivity, because I am an older soul, for example. Do you know what I mean? So sometimes we just agree to even out and do something for someone, right? Sometimes, and that's important to mention, we agree to do something in someone's life And in that contract, we say there's going to be no karma, right? So let me explain. Let's say you as a soul choose to go, for whatever reason, it's very complicated, right? But let's say you choose to experience an abusive relationship, right? Because you want to grow, you want to learn, it's something that you want to live through. Again, let's forget about the reasons. This is what you want as a soul. So now someone has to deliver it. Someone has to do it, right? So let's say you don't have any karma with someone, that type of a karma with someone to even out. But you find yourself a soul who wants to grow as well through this experience, and you tell them, you're going to come down there with me, you're going to be my husband, and you will be abusive towards me because I need to learn this, I need to feel this experience, I need to go through this experience, right? And then they say, all right, I will do it. But karma is not on me because I don't have any karma. I don't want to start new karma with you. I will just do it for your learning. But my card is blank, right? So I'm not going to owe you anything, right? So that sometimes happens. So when we have that karma with someone to pay, we oftentimes catch ourselves in that loop. And that loop, oftentimes, it's not always your exes and relationship. Oftentimes, it can be a father and a daughter relationship and a mother and a daughter relationship, right? So this lifetime, I'm your mother and I failed you. Next lifetime, we switch. You're my mother. And again, you failed me. And we constantly repeat and repeat and repeat and repeat. This is why people get stuck in karmic loops for lifetimes. So how do we release that karma with a specific person, on the level of a person? There's only one answer. And I know some people are not going to be ready for it. I know some people will deny it, and it's okay because sometimes it's very difficult. That's why we get stuck in a loop. Maybe you need extra lifetimes with this person, it's okay. But there's only one way to release your karma on a level of a person, and that is forgiveness. And I've worked with people who've been through very challenging relationships. I know people in my life who's been through very challenging relationships with their exes, with their parents, and they would say to me, I'm not interested in forgiveness. I don't have to forgive this person, right? No, you don't have to, but you will not clear your karma. Do you have to? No. You can totally repeat this in another lifetime. This is a school of life. You can repeat as many times as you like. You can freakishly go to another planet and repeat this with this person, with the soul in a different setting. You don't have to do anything, but if you want to, forgiveness is the answer. And when I work with people who need to reach that, who want to reach that forgiveness, what I always say, if you want to forgive someone, don't focus on forgiveness. I have been through this myself, right? So as you heal, let's say you had you cannot forgive whatever your father or your mother did to you. Don't focus on, I want to forgive you, I have to forgive you. No, let it go. Focus on your healing. Focus on understanding with compassion. Why did it happen? Why did it happen to me? Because if it happened, you chose this. There is no coincidence in the universe. There's a little bit of randomness, but there is no coincidence. If this person was your mother, you chose this. If she was beating you, you chose this. If she was verbally abusive, you chose this. If she abandoned you, you chose this. Why did I choose this? What is it within me that I wanted to heal? What within me wanted to grow? What within me is refusing to grow by refusing the fact that I chose this, right? And with that healing, with that deep healing that takes sometimes very long time, but you show kindness to yourself, you forgive yourself for putting yourself in this situation as well. In my experience, forgiveness to this person, it's something that comes naturally because more you grow. Do you know how I always talk about those 3 levels? First level that most people are stuck, blame game, pointing fingers, your fault, you're my ex's fault, my parents' fault, and this and that. Then you start to grow and the finger points towards you. It turns towards you. You start to understand, well, it's me. I'm the problem. I chose to be in this relationship, or I chose to stay in this emotion, or I chose not to have compassion towards my parents and understand that there must be pain behind what they're doing to me. There must be pain within them to treat me that way, right? It's me. So let's focus on my emotion, how I react, how I process, how I self-regulate. And when you reach that level that only few reaches, but it's the beautiful level of release of all karma, is that you understand that it was no one's fault. It had to happen for the greater purpose, for the expansion, for the learning. It's no one's fault. Not your fault, not my fault. It had to happen. Everything in the universe is neutral, right? So in order to release karma with a specific person and not get stuck on a loop with another lifetime, is to really truly forgive everything that they've done to you. And like I said, a path to forgiveness is a path of healing, is a path of focusing on you, and then forgiveness comes naturally. And just to close this topic, because oftentimes people say, well, okay, well, I've forgiven this person, but maybe they haven't forgiven me, or they still attached to me. How are we going to release this karma? You only worry about you. Right? So let's say I have karma with you. We've done harm to each other. And in the process of healing, I release you. I forgive you, right? Let's say I had that tie with my father. So in the process of healing, I've forgiven him. I've released him. I send him love. I'm completely neutral towards him. But he did not manage to do that towards me. So what does it mean? It means that as we go back to spiritual realm, he will have that karma to clear out that lesson, but not with me. With me, it's closed. It's done deal. So whatever he hasn't learned with me, he's going to transfer that to the level of the lesson, but no longer person, because I have released that. That karmic contract, that karma between two people is like a rope. It's like a knot that you both hold. The moment one person releases and lets go, you're no longer connected. It's enough to do it from one end, and the person will only be left with a lesson. So let's move to that next level, which is the level of the lesson, right? So sometimes you can have both, right? Let's say you have both. So you have a karmic relationship with someone on a level of a person and a level of a lesson. So how do you close that contract? Again, on a level of a person, you forgive them. You understand that it takes a victim to be a victim, right? That you have to actually carry pain within you to cause pain towards others, right? You start to have compassion towards this person, compassion towards yourself. You understand that it had to happen. You understand the bigger picture. You understand the learning, and through process of healing, I promise you, no matter what you have suffered from the hands of another person, the most horrible abuses, betrayals, it can all be let go if you understand that this person, it was just the executor of your lesson, right? This is how we let go. We detach also from that person, right? So you let that go, and then we're left with a level of a lesson. So every time someone comes to us, it's not just that karma with them that we have to clear out, but it brings a lesson. So how do you let that go? How do you close this contract? You learn the lesson. So if you really want to close this, if you have a relationship with someone, think to yourself, what are you teaching me? Again, that finger towards yourself, what are you showing me? Through emotions that you are causing within me, what are you showing me? Maybe you're showing me that I am too attached to you. Maybe you're showing to me that I don't believe in my self-worth. That's why your criticism reaches me so strongly. Maybe you're teaching me boundaries. Maybe you're teaching me codependence. Maybe you're teaching me that betrayal is not about another person. It's about lack of trust in ourselves to be betrayed, right? Whatever that is, there's always a lesson. What did I needed to learn with you? Through these friendships, through this father, mother, daughter relationship, sister, sometimes through this friendship, through this relationship, what did I needed to learn? Once you understand the lesson, you can heal and you can really let go on a level of that lesson. Now, what I want to mention to you is that sometimes we have, that's why we say karmic person, karmic relationship, but sometimes is what we call a karmic pattern, right? Which means that you can have contract with someone, but you don't have a specific karma with this person, but it's a karmic pattern that you've been stuck at through lifetimes and you need to break. So this person agrees to be the deliverer again of your lesson without building that karma. So let's say, it's just started raining confirmation. Let's say you form those codependent relationships, right? And you have rejection trauma that you need to heal. So you're gonna have a parent that's going to create that within you. This is that physical karma, right? It has to happen. This is why those karmic relationships with our parents are so strong, because they create our armor, they create our wounding that we wanted to have, because we know we haven't managed to heal that. So if I as a soul want to heal abandonment, let's say, right, from previous lifetimes, if I step into this body and no one in my childhood will create that abandonment, how will I heal it? It will be non-existent. So it has to be placed in every specific life. And it's usually done via our parents. That's why those are such an important karmic relationship. So let's say I have to heal this rejection, right? Let's say my parents or one of my parents put that rejection within me, right? And now I'm growing as a person, but I'm failing to recognize, I'm failing to heal. So life is going to hit me with a romantical partner that again is going to touch on that rejection. Do you heal it or you don't heal it? I break up with this person, I release this person, but I still have rejection wound. I still have codependency. I haven't dealt with that. So what universe is going to do? They're going to hit me with another lesson, perhaps via friend or via another partner. This is why I always say to you guys, it's so important when we exit a relationship, the romantical relationships are the most intense ones in comparison to lessons that our friends bring to us. So they like, similarly to like family relationships, they're very intense. But if you haven't learned, that's why I always say, once you exit a relationship, you break up with someone, you need minimum of 1 year to be on your own, to learn, to process this lesson, to heal. You cannot jump into another relationship, because rest assured, I guarantee you, it's going to be the same lesson via different deliverer, via different person, because universe wants to help you. Universe wants you to grow. I always give this example. It's just like with a child. If you want your child to learn, you're going to constantly put that child in situations, even if they're scared, even if they're not going to like it, you're going to put them in the situations to help them to learn. So it's going to be same with universe. So if you haven't learned that lesson, you're going to perhaps break up with this person, even forgive them, right, and let them go, but you're gonna get the same lesson again because you haven't learned your lesson. And that's what we call a pattern, something that we have to break. That's why it's so important, especially for my masculines, to reach a moment of their journey when they sit down and they analyze every relationship. My mother, my father, my sisters, my brothers, my friends, my girlfriends, what did I have not learned? And they're gonna see a pattern. They're gonna see a pattern. That variety of different people were trying to teach you. So sometimes we think, you know, those moments when people say, oh my God, why do I always get emotionally unavailable men? Or why do I always get myself in a toxic relationship? If you always, it's you are the problem. It's not them. Not all men will betray you. Not all women will manipulate you. Not all people, will be emotionally unavailable. You choose them. There's a vibration within you, vibration of pain, vibration of the shadow that without you knowing attracts that. It's a pattern that you need to break. And until you break it, it's going to be repeating itself karmically with different people. So a last thing that I want to mention to you is how closing that contract actually looks like, right? How breaking that contract actually looks like. Because perhaps you've heard me say that on our highest, most aligned timeline, we are always surrounded by our soulmates, right? By our soul tribe, by our true soul connections. Why? Because we stand in our power. We remember who we are. Our true frequency starts attracting those people. And we build our life together with our soulmates and our soul connections. We completely clear out our life of karmics. But it doesn't always look same. So how it actually looks like, and here we're going to touch upon this difference between relationships, romantical and friendships, and family, right? So and we also going to go back to what I said, and it's very important to remember, not all karmics are evil, right? So sometimes there's going to be this person in your life who's usually a friend or a romantical partner that came to your life to teach you something, right? The moment you learn and the moment you forgive, it also means that you've grew, right? So everything towards this person will be released, right? And this is where I often tell you and explain to you that if you have an ex and you still feel something towards him or her, sometimes it can be love, it can be longing, it can be missing them, and sometimes it can be hate, it can be resentment, it can be I cannot look at you, I cannot even think about you, right? But remember, everyone in this universe is a mirror reflecting something that has not been healed within us. So if you still have emotion, any kind of emotion, positive or negative, right? It's all truly neutral, but positive and negative, it means that you still have that karma with this person, right? So oftentimes when people, for example, cannot let go of relationships and they say, oh my God, but I still long for this person, but I still love them, because you still haven't learned your lesson. The moment you realize, what did they come here to show you? All that will be left, and it's similarly for divine feminines, it's similar with your twin. The moment you learn what he was showing to you in a specific moment of time, all that it will be left will be soul frequency. So when we let go and when we forgive our twin flame, we're left with a soul frequency, and his is same that ours. So we're just left with unconditional love. Right? We let go. This is this detachment. This is this release. This is inner union. But if this was your karmic connection, the moment you release, the moment you let go, the moment you close those emotions, soul frequency is what is left, but yours is far away from theirs because you don't have that soul bond. So you will just naturally let them go. When you learn your lesson, you will stop resenting this person. You will stop. It's like they're completely neutralized. You can have positive feelings and remembrance towards the past. You can have negative ones to remember them, to learn, right? But there's going to be no emotion. You will release them. It will be completely neutral because your frequencies are different. And the emotion that you feel, the lesson, is broken because it's closed, because you've learned these lessons, right? So when we talk about exes, romantical relationship, friendships, we usually, when we let go, when we close that contract, we become numbed, we become neutral towards this person, and usually they just naturally disappear. Because again, we've closed this contract. We no longer, it's like we shift timelines. It's similar to that, if you've heard that analogy of, the new earth and the old earth. They both still exist, but we don't interact. It's like a glass wall. they no longer relevant to you. So maybe it happened to you that you had that friend that hurt you, or you had some sort of a disagreement, but the moment you've learned your lesson and you let go, they just disappear. You no longer see them in the grocery store, they move to it, they're no longer there. You don't see them. They're no longer relevant. Similarly, exes, you stop thinking about them, they stop causing emotions, positive or negative. You just let them go because you've learned your lesson, right? And usually those people, like I said, they naturally disappear from our life completely, right? But there's another way a karmic lesson and relationship can be broken, and it's often observed with people that sort of have to, I don't want to say have to stay in our life, because no one has to, right? If you really had a intense karmic lesson with your parent who was like abusive, you can stop talking to your parent. And it's a common misconception that we have to, right, stay close to our family. But this is why those family karmics are so difficult, because it's an easy in the end to cut out an ex, cut out a friend. But our social conditioning tells us that we're evil if we're removing people from our family, especially if it's a close person, like a brother or sister, or a parent, or a child. So sometimes you really have to understand that lesson, because there's going to be two types of lesson, right? Sometimes our karmic family member is an intense lesson we have to remove, right? We have to remove, and it's going to be part of your lesson. And lesson past scenario would mean for you, I stop talking to this person. I do not care they're my mother. I do not care they're my father. I do not care they're my daughter. I stop talking to them because I've learned my lesson. I release them. I have no resentment towards them. I've forgiven them, but there's no space for them in my life, because we are of different frequency. And the fact that we have been bound by blood in this lifetime is really just temporary. When you truly ascend, you understand that the soul is eternal. It's soul ties that matter. But people keep, they're stuck in this, again, societal conditioning. And often we have beautiful soulmates in our life, and we dedicate them less effort and less time. And we go ahead and for Christmas and birthdays and vacation, we run to karmic family because we think we're supposed to. No. True awakened healed person builds a soul family, a soul tribe in their life, right? So there's going to be people in your family that you will feel that this lesson needs to close with complete removal, because this person is not willing to work with me. This person is not willing to grow with me. This person is not willing to work on our relationship, right? And it's too painful to me. And I'll touch on that a little bit in a moment. But sometimes the lesson in usually in a relationship, but sometimes it's also with friends, the lesson and the learning and the closure of that karmic contract doesn't mean complete termination of your relationship. Sometimes it just means that you will be, so let's say you have a parent, right? A father or mother, right? And let's say they're not your soulmate. Your relationship is difficult, right? For spiritual people, it's often the situation when you start to ascend, when you start to awaken, you get activated to your gifts, you become very spiritual, you release the conditioning of society, of religion, right? And your parent is very in the matrix, right? So they think you're completely crazy, that you've lost it, that you're going to end up in hell, right? And they have a completely different mindset. Certain things that you believe in and you try to explain and you talk about, they just don't resonate. So does it mean you have to cut them off? No, because it may be a parent. You will know this, you will feel this as you grow, as you really contemplate on your karmic contract. You can also ask your spirit guides or whoever you pray to, God, universe, to help you to figure out your contract with someone. But sometimes as we close the contract, it doesn't mean that we've terminated the relationship with the person, but it only means that we have put in a boundary. Okay? So sometimes with those people, you solely need to understand that you are a good person. You are a kind soul. I know you love me and I love you, and we have a beautiful relationship. There's a part of our relationship that is very beautiful. But as souls, as our path for this lifetime, we're very different. I've come here to grow, to ascend, to break generational trauma. I'm just giving you an example, right? To be who I am. And you are staying in the norms of the society, right? We're not going to have a topic of deep conversation. You're never going to understand me, my choices, my lifestyle, who I really am. But usually in those kind of relationship, the lesson is not to break contact with this person, right? Is to, with compassion, put in boundary and understand that life is not black and white. That it's especially important, like I said, for us healers, our awakened people, to understand you're not supposed to understand me. You're not supposed to know who I am. It's not your job. It's this entitlement sometimes within us that everyone has to agree with what we think. And in those relationships, the lesson resides in us just saying, you know what, you are my father, or you are my mother, or even you are my child, and I love you. And we will always have a beautiful relationship. But right now, I will select parts of my life that I can share with you and accept lovingly, with compassion, that you cannot give me anymore. And it's okay. And I will put in a boundary that I will spend a little less time with you, that I will not share everything that I do and all the details of my life with you, right? Because I know we're not soulmates, but you've given me something and I've given you something, and we grew thanks to each other, and we can still in this human experience be there for each other, right? Those are those karmic family members that the lesson is in putting the boundary and in understanding that they don't have to accept you for who you are. They don't have to understand you for who you are. It's entitlement thinking that they should. Just like you don't have to understand them. We can just coexist. This is also the base of forming, healthy communities. And it's a lesson of compassion always, because again, when we push, it's insistence, and insistence is resistance. And sometimes we have to just accept that certain people in certain relationships, they're not going to be, they don't exist to fulfill each other's all your expectations. And again, this is a lesson of letting go of expectations, right? Because this is your mother, this is your father, they were given to you, right? So you have to release on this journey this entitlement of saying, but I want a mother that will be this and that, and I want a mother that will be more, I don't know, like open-minded, and she will explore with me, she will travel with me, whatever. No, this is what you got, and you got that because you chose this. So why did you choose it? If this person is not of low vibration and you can coexist and there's love between you, just put in a boundary and stop having expectations. It is what it is. Give them the part of you that will resonate with them, and take from them the part of them that will resonate with you. Do you know what I mean? And there are a few more things I want to mention. One is that remember that when you close that karmic contract, if you truly grew through that contract, that closure, just like union, and I always say this, comes with peace. So when we say that you finally realize you've learned your lesson, that this person is toxic, this friend was always toxic, this connection was always toxic, it doesn't mean that you have to block and delete and tell them, to hell with you, I never want to see you again. Love and light, kindness, right? So sometimes we don't even have to announce it. You just what's the term? It's like it fades away, right? So you just stop talking to this person, you just stop engaging, you start saying no, you start putting in boundaries, and it will dissipate naturally. It doesn't have to be brutal, it doesn't have to be cruel. Allow the nature to just follow its course, right? Because you already know who you are, and you are in no obligation to officially tell them that this is it, we're done. Just put in a boundary. And if people who are, the more authentic you are, the more you know who you are, the more you love yourself, and you put in those boundaries, karmic people who are of very different frequency will be released naturally. This is why I always say that the key to alignment, finding your soulmates, being reunited with your twin flame, is to be you, authentic you, because you are of same or similar frequency. So it will always attract. It will always attract, right? You don't have to make an effort. That's why it's the ultimate test of, is it a karmic or is it a soulmate? Be who you are. Say what you think. Say what you want to do with your life. If it's your soulmate, they will always be on board because they are of similar frequency. They will always understand. And the last thing I want to mention is why some people really need to be cut out of our life completely. Because I've heard opinions oftentimes when we heal, right? And I always talk about this. It's not that when we're healed, when we're centered, right? It's not that the emotion doesn't come towards us, but we know how to self-regulate. So from a person who's like this emotionally, trigger, boo, right? We become like this, right? So because we understand that it's always about us, so when someone says something hurtful, we're not saying you're hurtful, you're so you did this, you did that, but why do I feel like this, right? And we start to take things very peacefully, right? So someone who in the past would trigger me and would hurt me, now whatever they say, I don't take it personally because I know it's a reflection of their own woundings, right? And I work on my self-regulation, right? So to that logic, some people come on and say, well, if that's how it is, why would you need to cut this person off? If you're no longer affected by what they're doing, if you're no longer affected by what they're saying, because you're at peace and you're centered. If you're at peace and you're centered, you don't have to cut them off. No. Because if you are at peace, if you are centered, if you are truly healed, it means that you have very deep self-love to your existence, to your physical body, energetic body, to your purpose. And you understand that there are certain things and people who are absolutely out of alignment. So if someone is very negative, very even abusive, it doesn't matter that I've healed and their words no longer resonate with me. But why on earth would I lose my precious time and energy that now I know that it's so valuable for this person? For the sake of what? Because they're my father? Because they're my mother? Because they're a person that I have a child with? No. I value me. I value my time. I know that my time now is for me and for my soulmates. So despite the fact that I am unbothered because I understand how it works and I have healed, your vibration does not match my vibration. There's no benefit, no more. There's no lesson, right? Do you know what I mean? All right, I hope this was helpful. I think I've covered, I was looking at my notes, I think I covered everything that I wanted to share with you about karmic contracts. I hope you now understand a little bit better how to close them, what do they mean, what do they look like, what is the purpose. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments. And yeah, I hope this was helpful and I'm wishing you an amazing day.